Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's exactly the time to start the meeting. I would like to greet you. My name is Lefaria from the WorldBank. Welcome to this knowledge sharing meeting. Before we can start, I just want to lay down some ground rule for the interpretation. On the bottom of your screen, you will see a sign of the globe. Please click on the sign of the globe to choose the language of your choice. There will be interpretation in French and English for those that speak French. Please use French. For those who speak English, please use English, because the speaker or the presenters will be speaking on the different languages. So you need to have that with you. Please make sure that you have your microphone, headphone with you for the clear sound and a better way of getting the better sound in the meeting. Additionally, I would like to remind you that we will have a question and answer through the meeting. There's a chat box on the bottom of your screen. If you want to post question on the screen, on the chat, please post on the chat also. That will be very much appreciated. On that note, I'll give over to Nike to give us a word of welcome. Thank you very much. Over to you, Nike.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And to our French speakers, I say bonjour tout le monde. I hope we're all keeping very well. We're very happy to have you in this important event today. I believe Lefaria has made my work easier. I'm supposed to be giving the introductions and the welcome and the information, which I believe he has done already. But I'll just try and repeat for purpose of emphasis. So this is a virtual knowledge sharing event on the foundational accounting and financial management skills empowerment program. I believe for many of us who are connected today, you've been engaging with the WorldBank team, the WorldBank consultants to carry out this work in your various countries. Currently, we're engaged in 5 countries, and I believe all the 5 countries are connected today. So just for purpose of repetition, I know Lefaria said that already. If you look at your screen, at the lower part of your screen, you'll see a world globe, which reads interpretation. If you click on that, you'll notice that there is interpretation in English and in French. So please just click on the language of your choice, and you will get the interpretation of whatever is being said here today in your own language. Also, in addition to the very important conversation we're going to be having today, we want to hear from you as well. So you will also see the chat in the lower screen under more. There's a part that says more. If you click on that, you will see chat. You can enter your chat, your questions, your comments, your contributions, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. Just to do a quick run through the program, first, my name is Nike Oyeyola, if I didn't say that before. I'm a practice manager in the WorldBank, and I have responsibility for this program. I manage the program, but the big part of the work is done by the very great team that is connected today, Lefaria, Patrick, Usman, and some other colleagues in the bank. So right after my introduction, I'm going to pass this on to our director, the global director of the governance global practice in the World Bank, Edward Okere, who has the final oversight of this program amongst so many other programs that is overseen. Right after that, we're going to have Michael Windisch, advisor in the Austria Ministry of Finance. Many of you would know that the Austria Ministry of Finance are the partners who are kindly financing this great work that we're doing in many countries. So right after Ed, Mike will also give some remarks from the perspective of the donors. After that, we're going to have two panels. The first panel will be sharing insights on the competency-based curriculum and syllabus structure. They'll talk of the assessment, of the qualification, of the progression to the next level, and lessons that have been learned in designing the qualification. Right after that, we'll have a second panel. And this panel will share insights on the training arrangements for students. And this will include partnership with tuition providers, tuition institutions. They will talk on distant learning. They will talk on accreditation of the qualification in the different countries and the proposed initiatives to attract students to the qualification. Right after that, we'll go into questions and answers for each of the panel. And then we'll have the closing remarks. So without much ado, I'd like to pass on to Ed Olo-Okere for his remarks. And then right after that, we'll move on to Michael. Ed, over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nike, and greetings to all of you. Thank you all for attending this virtual knowledge sharing event on the foundational accounting and financial management skills enhancement, what is called the FASE program. Let me just provide the context for this program and what the program has achieved so far. To put everything in context, I think we know that globally we are currently facing multiple overlapping and compounding crises. The main one really being the three C's, that is COVID-19, climate change, and conflicts. These crises are causing major human and economic impact. And they are also reversing decades of development gains made in reducing inequality and poverty. The impact in sub-Saharan Africa and many other developing countries is particularly devastating. These challenges, the crisis call for an urgent and wide-ranging response, especially the need to protect the poor and vulnerable, boost the response capacity of developing countries, and also lay the ground for countries to achieve a green, resilient, and inclusive development over the long term. The response also requires developing adequate and suitably skilled human resources. We know that Africans' growing work age population presents a major opportunity to build the required human capital to tackle the continent's challenges. Therefore, investing in the skills of youths and adults in different professions that can contribute effectively to the economy is a most effective strategy to address this crisis, or to equip African countries to be able to tackle the challenges. One such profession is the accountancy profession that contributes to all aspects of the economy. And we see the need to develop adequately trained finance and accounting officers with a range of skills from foundation to intermediate, that is technician, and also to full professional level for them to be able to serve or contribute both in the public and private sectors. Currently, the accountancy profession in most countries in Africa is small and underdeveloped. We know that the number of professionals and technicians that we have in many of the countries are not adequate to support the economy. And I think the challenges are most acute in the French-speaking countries. Therefore, there is need to build such accountancy skills to contribute in addressing the current crisis and crises that may also come up in future. We are pleased that the Ministry of Finance in Austria provided a grant of 3 million euro in 2018 to develop the skills for intermediate, for foundation and intermediate accounting and financial management program, which we have described as the Foundational Accounting and Financial Management Skills Enhancement Program. The objective of this program is to enhance foundational skills in accounting and financial management by developing more accounting technicians to serve in the public and private sector, which we consider to be really very important for developing this economy while improving accountability and transparency. Just to give you an overview of the program has 3 components. First is conducting a study on the status of accountancy profession in 5 French-speaking countries, which are really the focused countries: Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Morocco, Senegal, and Tunisia. The second part of the program is supporting the 5 countries that I just mentioned to develop and roll out new or revised accounting technician equivalent qualifications. The third component is designing an accounting technician qualification for Africa to be made available for rollout by all African countries and support at least 3 countries to pilot the qualifications. So now let me go to the progress and what we see as the next step. There has been good progress on implementation. So I want to congratulate the teams and also the client counterparts. Firstly, the study on professional accountancy in 5 French-speaking countries has been finalized. The study was completed in 2021, and it presents an overview of accounting qualification process in the countries, the strengths and weaknesses of the accounting technician qualifications being offered from the perspectives of students, employers, and tuition providers. It also provided recommendations to address the identified gaps relating to strengthening accounting technicians' offerings in these countries. The findings and recommendations informed the approach followed in designing the accounting technician qualifications in the 5 countries, which is the second part of the program. Secondly, support to the 5 countries to design and roll out new or revised accounting technician equivalent programs is at an advanced stage. First, we have completed the design of a competency-based accounting technician certificate program, which is accessible to holders of at least a 3-year technical degree, that is the baccalaureate +3, for Burkina Faso, Morocco, and Tunisia. We are now preparing to support the accountancy profession organization, or the professional accountancy organization and education and training providers in the 3 countries with the implementation from July 2022. We have also supported the Ministry of Higher Education in Cote d'Ivoire to develop a roadmap for the review of the BTS, which is a 2-year post-secondary national professional degree, and also the DUT, which is a 2-year post-secondary national professional degree in accountancy and finance, that attracts students who are destined for short professional course. We shall be supporting the ministry to implement the roadmap from July 2022 to June 2024. We are currently supporting ONECA to design a competency-based accounting technician certificate program accessible to holders of at least baccalaureate, and expect to complete the design by July 30, 2022. There has been some delay caused by COVID as we were looking for suitable consultants in Senegal, but we are progressing on the rollout from August 2022. Thirdly, we have initiated the development of the Accounting Technician Qualification for Africa, that is ATQFA. The development of the competency-based qualification, that is curriculum, syllabus, study, and lecturer materials, started in January 2022 and expect to be finalized by October 2022. The process involved consultation with various stakeholders, including IFAC, PAFA, the Accounting Technician Scheme of West Africa, and also professional accountancy bodies in various African countries. The qualification is mainly based on IFAC Illustrative Competency Framework for Accounting Technician, as well as the Accounting Technician Scheme for West African Qualification and other Accounting Technician qualifications in Africa. The FASE project will support 3 selected countries to roll out this continental accounting technician scheme that is being developed. Those countries are Angola, Mozambique, and South Sudan, which have been jointly selected by the Austrian government and the bank as pilot countries. And we have started to discuss with the countries to confirm their participation in the program. The Pan-African Federation of Accountants, PAFA, has also been designated as the implementing agency for that component of the program. That will also support the 3 countries to roll out the qualification for a period of 2.5 years from July 2022. If everyone could please mute. Our colleague in Tunis, if you can please mute, that would be good. Thank you. Okay. So let me then just address a few more points, and then I would return the mic to Nike. So what are the critical principles that we have adopted in designing and implementing the project? We have ensured first that the program involves extensive engagement with stakeholders throughout the project cycle to ensure stakeholders' interests, needs, expectations are incorporated in the program design. We have also mainstream capacity building in all phases of the program. This involves hosting knowledge sharing sessions in the country and amongst the 5 countries that are participating in the first and second component of the program. The projects are scalable and sustainable. And so we are exploring raising funds from other development partners and other World Bank funded projects to support students to enroll in the designed qualifications. So finally, let me congratulate all of you who have contributed to achieving these remarkable results. That's the task team. And also the counterparts on the client side, as well as the staff of PAFA. I would also like to thank the Austria Ministry of Finance, represented here this morning by one of the directors or advisors, for funding this program. I will also like to really express special thanks to Arad, who is the Director General in the Ministry of Finance, for his special interest in issues of accounting, financial management, and transparency accountability in various countries. I challenge all of you to continue to contribute to the implementation of the program and to share your innovative ideas on how we can continue to accelerate the program. I also invite you to share your thoughts during the conversation today. Thank you for your attention. Very much glad to be part of this program. Back to you, Nika.
Thanks very much, Ed. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank you for your leadership. Yes, ARAD has been very pivotal to the support from the Austrians on accountancy. But Ed, on the part of the bank, has been also very strong in moving us ahead on areas of every aspect of governance, but very importantly on this foundational accountancy work. So Ed, thank you very much for that. So at this point, we'd like to call our boss, if I may call the Austrians that, our funders. Michael, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nika. Thank you very much, Ed. Great words. I can only second what you just said with regards to Harold and Ed being crucial in driving this agenda. So, dear board, dear council members, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure actually to welcome you on behalf of the Austrian Federal Ministry of Finance to this workshop that we're hosting together with the World Bank's Foundational Accounting and Financial Management Skills Enhancement Program, FASE. I think it's certainly clear to all of us that sound financial information is very important for the financial system, but also in the second round to investment and economic growth in general. And I'm glad to say that Austria has recognized the importance of high quality financial information many years ago. In fact, private sector development and finance is a focal area in our IFI strategy here at the Ministry of Finance, along with many other important topics such as climate action, energy, water and urban development. And also, therefore, we're very happy that the Center of Financial Reporting Reform, CFFR, was established in Vienna in 2007 with the support of the Austrian government. And over the last 15 years, the CFFR, I think, has really played a key role in providing expert advice and technical assistance to improve systems of corporate financial reporting and also public financial reporting, as we will hear. Let me just give you a very brief overview of past and current programs administered by the CFRR in the last 15 years. So we started out with the REPARIS program, which was a regional program in South, Central, and Southeast Europe that was implemented by CFFR that was creating a transparent policy environment and an effective institutional framework for corporate reporting. We did this program together with Switzerland, Luxembourg, and of course with the World Bank. In fact, the program was so successful that the European Commission in 2013 decided to join the initiative and is now financing a successor program with the EU REPARIS initiative. Austria has followed up on this program by funding a different program called StarUp, which extended this partnership to the countries of the EU Eastern Partnership. In 2016, we have entered a new field of engagement with the area of public sector accounting reform, launching the Pulsar program together with Switzerland. And as you can already see from my list, Austria has a strong tradition in supporting projects and activities in Eastern Europe, the Balkans, and Central Asia. But also the African continent obviously is a key priority for Austria's development cooperation. And in 2018, we have started to support FASE, that is the program that we're talking about today, which, as you all know, addresses the need for foundational skills in bookkeeping, cash management, and accounting in Africa. So we really believe that the program will translate in a greater number of knowledge bearers and consequently will lead to increased efficiency and productivity of private sector companies and the public sector in the countries that are the beneficiaries of this program. And we also think that FASE can contribute to increasing the skill level and the job potential of these certified technicians in the target countries. Let me wrap up and conclude by wishing you all very fruitful discussions. I'm very eager to learn from your experiences, and I hope that this is an interesting exchange for all of you. Thank you very much to the FASE team and the World Bank for their commitment and also for keeping the momentum over these very difficult, challenging years. that we had with COVID and other issues coming up. So thank you very much and looking forward to the event.
Okay, so thanks very much, Michael, for the encouraging words. Just to let you know, we're expanding on our work and we'll definitely come back. You probably also know that just like Ed said, we have some other donors who are interested in actually expanding this work even to more countries. So, we count on the continuous support of the Austria Ministry of Finance so that we can continue to support the countries in this great work. So I guess it's my time to keep quiet and pass it on to the facilitator of the first panel discussion. I believe that's Patrick.
Usman, please. Thank you.
Oh.
Merci beaucoup, Ed.
Thank you so much, Ed, and thank you, Michael. Thank you, Adenike, who is our practice manager. It's my honor to be able to inaugurate this initial panel. I'm a specialist on public sector matters at the World Bank, and I work with Patrick Abuya and others on this. During this first panel, we hope to discuss the design of how to design a technician certificate. We're really going to focus on their curriculum and on the syllabus, but also we want to have a more in-depth discussion on the various steps required in order to obtain a qualification, and also the career path for future technicians. And we'd also like to have an experience sharing session from the various pilot countries, experiences that they've acquired in terms of developing the certificates. So we're going to have two representatives from the PAOs, the Professional Accounting Organization. So we're going to have a representative from Burkina Faso, and then we're going to have a second representative, Mr. Ahmed Shadi, who's the Secretary General of the Order of Accountants of Morocco. And then we're going to have a representative from Mazar, the Mazar consulting firm in Tunisia, and we will have a sharing of experience.
Parfait. Parfait. Donc, sans plus tarder, je voudrais...
So without further ado, I would now like to invite Amadou Duki, who's from Burkina Faso, who will provide his presentation. In just a few moments, he will tell us about the situation in Burkina Faso. Then we'll pass on to the other speakers and we will open it up to discussion. Amidou, you have the floor. Hello, Usman. Greetings, everybody. I hope that you can hear me. Or rather, I hope that you can see my screen. I'm doing a screen share.
Okay, merci. Okay. Merci.
Thank you. So thank you again and greetings to everybody. Since we have a very short period of time, I will be brief. And so I'm presenting, I'm Amidou Ki. I'm from the Chartered Accountant Order in Burkina Faso. So I'd like to draw your attention to three essential points, if I may. So please bear with me while I move to the next slide. Usman, I'm not able to move to the next slide. Take your time. Perhaps use the diaporama mode so that you can change to the next slide. I'm not able to select that. Can anybody else show the presentation? This is the interpreter. If you put it in slideshow mode, you should be able to move. I think that my computer has frozen. we're going to ask Nefaria to post your presentation, but you can begin to present, and then in-house Nefaria's team will display your presentation. We are sharing the presentation. So next slide.
Okay.
Donc,
Oui, mais
Nefaria,
moi, mon problème, c'est ça, c'est planté à mon...
So unfortunately, my computer is frozen, or perhaps it's Nefaria's. Can you move to the next slide? This is it's Ama's screen. Could you move?
slide number
Non,
2.
ça, c'est...
Previous slide. Slide 2, please.
Perfect.
OK, donc...
Thank you. So we can continue to develop keep clicking so that we can have the whole slide build out. So this first slide describes the general organization of their certificate. So we have two types of certificates that are offered. So we have the basic certificate on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, you have what we call the professional certificate. And so these are two distinct certificates. Previous slide, please. Previous slide. Slide 2, please. Please display the previous slide. This is not the correct slide. Can we please display slide number 2? This is moving too quickly through the presentation. Please move to slide 2, competency-based accounting technician program. Previous slide. That's it. Perfect. Thank you. So we're talking about the basic certificate, left-hand side of the slide. And so there's theoretical teaching as well as practical skills. So notably soft skills. And so we have office software, we have accounting, accounting, taxation issues, computer science, and methodology. So once people have gone through this program, they will have acquired certain skills in terms of IT software management, accounting and payroll software, and so on. In terms of soft skills, it's all about time management. It's also about acquiring good verbal and written communication skills and knowing how to write well. And it's also about learning leadership skills. Now, on the right-hand side, we have the trade certificate, or what we could call the professional certificate. So this is what you acquire after the basic certificate. So here, again, students will acquire various tools that are connected to the various professions. So we have the taxation of what's called BTP in French, which is the construction industry. And so it's quite unique. And the mining industry also has a very specific accounting method. And so that's why people are focusing on those more specific skills. Next slide, please. Slide 3, please. So in terms of how we assess skills, this is how candidates are able to join the program. So they have to present an application, and they will be selected based on the application that they have submitted. So the courses are in-person courses, and perhaps in a few years we may be able to provide online courses, but for the time being it's only in-person courses. So the admission requirements for the certificate. So there is some homework at home. There's also a presentation that needs to be made to the entire class. And there's also a 3-month internship. People also have to defend their internship report. So in order to obtain the qualification, you have to obtain at least 75% of the points. For students who are not able to achieve that score, they will receive additional teaching support so that they can acquire the certificate. Next slide, please. So it's important to bear in mind is that the main purpose of these certificates are to fill in the gaps via the acquisition of skills that can be immediately used by by the students. So here is our business model in blue. So this was a 5-year time frame for this study. And so our goal is to make it profitable after the second year. And within a 5-year period, 1,000 students will have been trained and will have received our certificate. And the cost of this will be about 50 to 650 million. And this also takes into account the establishment of head office. So the institute will be created and managed by ONECA, but we will also have a board of directors in addition to various academic bodies. So this will include a scientific council, a monitoring and evaluation committee. And so as of the second year, we'll be able to have an assessment of the first year to be able to see what are the key takeaways, what needs to be adjusted. That way, after the second year, we can continue to improve the program so that it moves in the right direction. And in addition to that, we will be signing various agreements with different stakeholders. So the Chamber of Commerce of Burkina, employers, various universities. The purpose of signing these agreements is to make sure that there is proper governance of the program and to make sure that the certificates really match the skills that are required in the field, that they will really fill various gaps in skills. So that was just a very brief overview of the type of certification that is provided by the ONECA in Burkina Faso. So thank you for your attention, and this concludes my presentation. Thank you, Mr. Key, for this very insightful and succinct presentation, which really speaks to today's issue. So now I'd like to invite Ahmed Shabi, who is the Secretary of the Accounting Order of Morocco. And rather, it's Tunisia, or Morocco, yes. Thank you, Usman. Greetings. This is not the correct presentation, says the speaker. I believe there's an error in terms of the presentation that is being displayed. That is not the latest presentation that we sent you. Mr. Shabi, we're going to look for that, but I would like to suggest that in the interest of time, you could start. Is this the right one? Is this the correct presentation? Mr. Shabi, yes, this is the correct presentation. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your kind attention and for your involvement in this project. So on behalf of the Order of Accountants of Morocco, I'd like to thank you. And I'd like to thank all of our partners, the World Bank, as well as other institutions and other accounting organizations from various countries that have contributed to this project. Alongside me, I have Mr. Khalid Boutnatman, who is the consultant who worked on this project. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to present the various, well, first of all, we're trying to present the context, the general context, and then we're going to talk about what was done in order to improve training as well as the content, so that we can provide very practical and hand-on training courses in the area of accounting. So what you need to keep in mind in Morocco, this is not our first experience in the matter. We have already launched a process that began in 2005, and this was with the Chartered Accountants Order and the Trade and Administration School, ISCAE. So this is ISCA, and so this is a practical training that leads to a certificate. And at the time, it was implemented in order to meet a certain need, in order to professionalize the accounting sector, both for companies, for chartered accounting businesses, and for anybody involved in the sector. And so this work lasted for several years. This process lasted for several years. However, unfortunately, it kind of ran out of speed after some time. And that's because it didn't lead to a diploma. It only led to a certificate. So this is something that we discussed. This has been discussed in various countries. So is obtaining a certificate enough, or is it important to have a diploma? Is it important to have more in-depth training that provides with a diploma? In fact, I might even say there was some competition with other training modules that were provided by other universities and by other trade schools, or even within the business schools.
Our reforms, what we are currently looking at to improve this training, is within the framework of the education system in Morocco, with a time frame of 2022-2026 that is based on more theoretical aspects of education. We have noticed that there was a lack in training in accounting. Students integrate in order for them to integrate the job market at a world level. They're not necessarily trained adequately. And there are also gaps in the soft skills and anything that pertains to the accounting profession. So therefore, the necessity to revise the current system and to propose a second, we have lost the speaker, a second reform, training reform that will be closer and the speaker is inaudible. The speaker cannot be heard. To enable these students to enter the job market. We're going to move to the second slide.
Oui.
The speaker is inaudible. My colleague Khalid is going to intervene now. Yes, thank you.
Bonjour tout le monde.
Thank
Pour ma
you.
part,
Good
je vais
morning,
juste
everyone.
compléter ce que
Hello.
vient de dire
I just want to
mon collègue.
reiterate what my
Donc,
colleague
la formation
said.
conçue s'adresse à des lauréats ayant le niveau de Bac plus 2 et dans l'objectif, si vous voulez, est de former des professionnels de la comptabilité et de la finance qui auront trois débouchés principaux. Premièrement, c'est des profils qui sont censés assister les responsables comptables et financiers dans les grandes entreprises en tant qu'aide dans des grandes structures, ou ce sont des profils qui sont censés assumer la responsabilité de la fonction comptable au sein des PME, des petites et moyennes entreprises, ou ce sont des profils qui vont être destinés à des cabinets comptables, soit dans des cabinets d'experts comptables, de comptables agréés, en général des cabinets de la profession comptable pour avoir
accounting
la fonction
certified
de comptable au sein
accountants,
des cabinets. Alors, le programme tel qu'il a été conçu, si vous
and the
voulez,
heads of
c'est un
the
programme articulé
legal
autour de
firms,
3 axes
legal
principaux,
and
avec une formation
tax firms,
sur 340
by
heures,
giving them
avec un stage
training of
professionnel.
340
Toute la
hours, a
formation se
professional
déroule sur une
training
année
course.
entière, une
The
année
entire course
universitaire, 1er septembre,
is
31
spread over
juillet.
1 year
Et
from September to
la formation,
July.
si vous voulez, elle est
And
conçue
the
autour
training is
d'abord des
designed
modules principaux, qui sont
by
des modules qui
modules.
vont s'attaquer au
These
cœur du métier,
modules are
à
going to
savoir
address the
des
heart
modules de
of the
base qui
profession,
portent sur
the
le
basic
droit, le management,
modules
l'économie,
on
des
rights,
modules
management,
techniques
and economy,
proprement dit, qui sont
more
le cœur de la
technical
formation,
modules that are at the
avec de la
heart
formation
of
en
the
comptabilité, en
training, with
fiscalité,
the
en
training
audit, en
in
contrôle de gestion,
taxation
en gestion financière,
and
et
financial
également.
management. Next slide, please.
Donc, je disais que la formation
So
était
I was
articulée
saying
autour de
the
3 axes,
training is articulated
avec
on
2 types de modules. Un
over
premier
3
module
axes.
qui sont des modules principaux,
The two
qui
modules
comprennent
are the
des modules de
principal
base qui sont
modules
tournés
that
autour du droit, du
are
management, de l'économie,
transversal,
des modules
cross-cutting,
techniques qui sont le cœur de la
and
formation,
they
avec
include
des
techniques
formations
that are at the heart
approfondies en
of
comptabilité, comptabilité analytique,
the
audit,
training
contrôle de gestion,
in accounting,
fiscalité, gestion
management,
financière,
taxation,
et des modules informatiques,
and we
à la
also
fois
have
des modules sur les outils informatiques, mais
modules
aussi
on
sur
the
des outils
computer
métiers,
skills, computer
avec
tools,
l'exploitation de logiciels les plus couramment utilisés.
with
Et
software
bien
that
entendu,
is
la
training in
formation
software that is
réserve une place
the
importante
most
à tout ce
used,
qui est
and
environnement
everything
digital. Parce
pertaining to
qu'aujourd'hui, par
the
exemple, dans notre
digital
contexte,
environment.
toute la production
Because
comptable est
in our
relativement
context,
avancée en
all
termes de
the
digitalisation.
accounting
Et aujourd'hui, beaucoup de choses se
profession
font en
is
ligne. Et donc, la
done
formation
online. So
serait
training
orientée
would
dans
be
ce concept
oriented
de
with
digitalisation.
this
Et la profession
digital
comptable
concept,
va participer
and
d'une
the
manière
profession,
conséquente à cette
the accounting
formation parce
profession,
que c'est
will
elle qui a, si
participate
vous
in
voulez, la
this
pratique
training because it is this
quotidienne
profession
de ce mode
that
d'exercice
has
de la profession.
the
Alors, à côté des modules
day-to-day
principaux,
experience.
il y a des modules transverses qui
So
comprennent à la fois
these
l'usage
cross-cutting
de langues, notamment l'anglais,
modules
parce que aujourd'hui c'est quelque
comprise
chose qui est devenu
also training
indispensable
in
dans
English, in the
l'exercice de la
English
fonction,
language, because that
avec
is
aussi des modules de
indispensable for
développement
this
personnel,
type
de
of training, as
communication
well
qui visent
as
à développer les
personnel
capacités
development
individuelles des comptables.
to
Et
develop
nous avons prévu
at
également
the
une
personal
petite
levels,
part pour une formation
as well
à
as
l'environnement régional. Parce qu'au Maroc, si vous voulez,
training on the regional environment, because
il y a plusieurs régions et donc
Morocco we
nous avons
have
réservé une
several
petite part de la
regions, and we
formation
have
à
reserved
de
a
l'économie
small
régionale
portion
pour
of
connaître
the
un petit peu
training
les
on the
particularités.
regional
Comme ça, les
economies,
personnes formées
so to
seront très
know
à même
the
et seront très
specific needs
imprégnées
of these
des
different
particularités
regions,
économiques
so
de la région.
that the
Alors,
accountants
un
can
dernier module
be
transverse, c'est
aware
celui du stage de
of the
formation.
local
Alors,
context.
ce stage,
The last part
lui, il va
is
se dérouler en cours d'année
a course of
pendant
3
la période des
months,
clôtures comptables, de sorte à ce qu'on permette aux
and
comptables de profiter au
to
maximum
enable the accountants to
de l'essentiel
take
de la saison
advantage
comptable
of
pour notamment s'imprégner
what
auprès
has
des entreprises,
been
auprès des cabinets, du processus
learned
de
in
clôture
the
comptable, de tous les
essential
travaux qui sont
points,
faits. Et donc, ce
the work
stage
that has been
professionnel
done. So this
d'environ 2 à 3 mois
professional
sera sanctionné
workshop
par un
is
rapport de
of 3
stage
months,
qui sera
will
élaboré
be
par le
finalized with
candidat et qui ne
a
rentre pas dans les 340
training
heures de
course
formation. Les
report
340 heures, ce
based on
sont
the
pour les modules
340
principaux et le module transverse numéro 1,
that are
qui
comprised
est
in the
relatif à l'axe 2.
principal,
Voilà un petit
the
peu
main modules, as well as the
l'esprit avec
cross-cutting
lequel nous avons conçu le
modules.
programme.
So this is
Comme
the
a dit
spirit in
mon
which the
collègue,
program has been
l'expérience chez nous au Maroc est une
designed.
expérience déjà qui
The
date de
experience
2005-2006
in Morocco
et
dates back
nous
to
faisons en sorte de capitaliser
2005-2006,
sur cette expérience.
and we want
Et
to
c'est pour cela que
capitalize on
pour
this
nous,
experience,
la
and that is
formation doit
why
être diplômante
this
parce que les
training
candidats, si vous
must
voulez,
result
après tout, ils
in
cherchent un
in a
diplôme qui va
diploma
les mettre en valeur sur le
that
marché du
will
travail, qui va
valorize
leur donner plus
these
d'assurance et plus de
professionals on
possibilités
the job market and
d'évolution dans
offer
l'entreprise.
them more
Donc,
options for
et puis,
the development
aujourd'hui, il y a beaucoup
the corporate
d'offres de
development.
formation par les
There
établissements de
are
formation, les universités, etc.
there's other training
La particularité
available
de
through
cette formation, c'est la participation de la profession comptable dans la formation. La participation de la profession comptable est de nature à permettre de donner à cette formation beaucoup de son contenu pratique et de pertinence par rapport à la vie quotidienne des entreprises et des cabinets. Voilà, j'espère avoir été clair et complet et je suis à votre disposition.
Clear and complete and thorough. I'm available for questions. Thank you very much. Abed, are you
Cabinet Mazar Ousmane, c'est cabinet Acden.
Apologies, back then. I would like to thank Khalik for his presentation and reiterate my thanks to the entire team at the World Bank. And I hope that we have respected the time allocated. Thank you very much. Yes, this was absolutely clear. And in terms of timing, you were good. So now we're going to move on to the next presentation so that we can start the session on questions and Q&A. Thank you very much. I'm Edi Kamoun, in charge of this program for Mazar. I would like, first of all, to thank the World Bank to have given us the opportunity to work on this subject, a subject that is legitimate and timely in Tunisia. The certification and the program that we are aims at reducing the gaps in theoretical training, as well as the practical requirements from the market for the students and the professionals in their professional activities. So we have an approach that started with the implementation of a program, a training program based on a study that was conducted by the World Bank. This study enabled us to have a first draft of the program that was discussed with the different Tunisian companies, as well as including the Accounting Corporation of Tunisia. We're going to look at the program, the feedback that we received, to be able to submit this revised program to the accounting professionals who have confirmed up to 80% of the content. So this program is based on 3 competencies. The first one is the basic competency or theoretical competencies, and the idea is to consolidate the theoretical knowledge of the candidates that these will have obtained over the years of study for the BTS students. Secondly, practical skills. And here we are looking at the gaps and narrowing the gaps. So these practical skills will be contained in the second module for the different software, accounting software programs that will be used, as well as taxation programs, to give them practical skills, and as well as facilitating the creation of companies. Then we have the last module that will be about management time management, communication, and conclusions and reports, as well as leadership and teamwork. For the modalities that need to be followed for certification, we want to have as much adaptability as possible for the candidates. We have two modes for this training. We have the hybrid mode, which means that the candidate will be able to choose between in-person or virtual based on their situation, or we have a 100% virtual mode where candidates will be able to follow the entire training online. So we want to make this training as democratic as possible, so to give access to everyone throughout the country. The qualifications, the candidate will have a certificate where he or she will validate his or her participation. After that, candidates who have attended the different modules, they will have a success certificate in accounting. The lessons learned during this project are the importance of soft skills. Personally, I was a student and I integrated the job market and lived the situation. It is true that in a university, there are a lot of things that we do not learn. And I think that soft skills are very important. And I lived this myself and realized how important these soft skills can be for the learner's career, especially the importance of e-learning and digitalization. These one positive point that we had that we experienced during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, a lot of e-projects were launched and accelerated. So everything that pertains to virtual learning is, I believe, should result in the possibility to follow everything online with the digital tools. Thank you for your attention, and I hope I've been clear. Thank you very much. We just finished the 3 presentations for this panel. I would like to open the floor for any questions on this virtual session. If we do not have any question, we could summarize and talking about a general education program with, and I appreciated the fact that we base ourselves on the needs of the economy. In Burkina Faso, we heard that this is especially important for the mine industry, and we could have a specialization in that area. And we also have heard about going one level above the traditional training curriculum. Medar, you have a question? Medar, if you could please open your mic.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Yes. So I wanted to ask the organizers if they could give us the documents for this session, if they could share the documents online. Yes, you will not only have the documents, but we also have a web page where you will be able to have access to all the recordings of today's session. So everything will be made available.
Did you have a question, or is that all you wanted to ask? That's what I wish to ask for. I wish to ask for the presentations. Very well. We have Brice Accounier, who's the president of the Chartered Accountants of Cote d'Ivoire. You have the floor. This is Driss Akone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ousmane, for giving me this opportunity to take the floor. I'd like to thank all of the participants. And what I'd like to say is that these two presentations can lead us to draw two key conclusions. First of all, developing a certificate that leads to a certain skill set, that of a superior accounting technician or an intermediary accounting manager. If it's just a certificate, it's not going to be to lead to much. It really needs to be viewed as something leading to a diploma, a certificate. And so this diploma, how is this diploma going to be managed in each country? So that is, we need to have a degree, a diplôme in French, and I think that is going to have much more value than a certificate. And the second key finding comes from Tunisia, and this is something that the conclusions that they draw. And what they've said, that in order to really have tangible results, you need to create a diploma, a degree, in order to really make sure that this is something that is recognized. And so it needs to be something that is handed over by a key body in the country. We also have another conclusion that can be drawn by Burkina Faso. So there are degrees or diplôme for higher level accounting technicians. But there's something else that the degree doesn't provide. So you might be the holder of a degree that has been handed down by the state, but perhaps this doesn't help you understand the specificities of a certain area, for example, the construction area or the mining industry. There are certain industries that have very specific accounting practices. And so that's where you might need a certificate in that particular area. So if that means that the person already has a degree, but then they will obtain a certificate in a very specific accounting area. And so that can really enhance what's being done. And this doesn't come into competition with what the state is providing. Rather, it enhances and complements the degree that is being delivered by the state. So I believe that these two models really show the limits of each type of degree or certificate, but also the opportunities that lie ahead, especially as an entity that would be organizing the whole accounting sector. So those are the key conclusions that I have drawn from the discussions. And I think this gives us guidance in terms of what we might move towards. Thank you very much. Now we're going to pass the floor to Anas and then Gaspi. And I think Abel Assien has raised a question in the chat, and I will translate that. So Anas, you have the floor. Thank you, Ousmane, for giving me this opportunity to provide some contributions to this discussion. I agree with what Rissa said. I think we really need to leverage the Moroccan experience and to really make sure that this training leads to a degree, and not simply a certificate, because the certificate might not be something that has a lot of longevity. we need to make sure that this degree or diplôme is something that could serve as an opening so that accountants could get other certificates, and so that they could, rather than remaining accounting technicians, they could become chartered accountants. And I believe that it's also important to develop industry-specific skills. In fact, yesterday, the National Council in my country has listed various specificities per sector, or per industry rather. And there's also the nonprofit sector, which has specific accounting procedures. And so for the World Bank, this is also an area in which we need to have more specific skills. And so that's why I believe that it's very important to include industry-specific accounting skills, and this will provide added value to these degrees. So yes, the diplôme degree is important, but it also needs to have outlets. It needs to lead on to other industries. In Morocco, we need to have that industry-specific approach. We need to make sure that people can specialize and they can work in niche markets, and rather than having skills that are too general. Thank you, Gaspi, and then we'll conclude with Serinka, who comes from Senegal. So Gaspi, for now, you have the floor. Thank you, Usman. Thank you for giving the floor. I'd simply like to have more information from the Mazar Tunisie presentation regarding the certificate for the 3 modules that are provided. So they said there is a participation certificate for each module, and then after people complete the 3 modules, they get an achievement certificate. So when somebody obtains a certificate of participation, they don't pass an exam, do they? Or is it after the conclusion of passing an exam that they obtain the certification of participation? And then is it only once you've gone through all modules that you get the certificate of achievement? I would like some clarification. I'm wondering, after people complete the 3 modules, after they obtain their certificate of participation, perhaps it would be better for them to obtain a degree, a diplôme, rather than simply a certificate of achievement. All right, we'll pass the floor to Serinka, and then Mr. Gabi, and then one other person. So Siri, you have the floor. Hello, Usman. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for allowing me to ask a few questions, and also to express my point of view relating to these foundational accounting and financial management skills enhancement program. So I'd like to thank Tunisia, Morocco, and Burkina Faso for presenting their models. And so the key question here is, do we need a degree, diplôme, or do we need a certificate? So before we answer that question, we need to ask, what would be the value of having a certificate rather than a degree or a diplôme? And so here, we need to look at basic training first. So Burkina Faso, for example, mentioned that there is a basic certificate and a professional certificate that's delivered. So is this a state-run program that delivers these certificates? And if so, this means that perhaps the holders of these certificates would have a higher likelihood of obtaining jobs. So Tunisia has mentioned that this is a state-recognized degree. And so I think it's important that it be state-recognized. And this will really enhance the ability of holders of such certificates to obtain jobs. So for the countries that presented certificates within their studies, did they include the fact that it was state recognized? And are the schools that deliver this training, are they also recognized by the state? Are they? So what I'm asking is, what's the level of state recognition? So what I'm wondering is this something that's managed by the order of accountants, or is it actually something that's organized by the state of by the government of these respective countries? Because what I'm trying to state is that we need to have state recognition of these certificates. So in my country, we're running a little bit behind because our consultant has just been recruited. And that's why we're trying to see what the best model is, so that the best level of competency can be achieved. And so we can really ensure that holders of these degrees or certificates are immediately employable. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to pass to Mr. Gabi, and I apologize to others. I don't think we'll have enough time to take your questions, but I believe that panel 2 will enable you to ask some questions. So Gabi, you have the floor to ask your question. I'd like to thank all of the presenters first and foremost, and I'd like to thank all of the stakeholders here today. So I listened closely to all the presentations, and my question relates to the following. Again, should this be a certificate or a diploma, a degree? In my opinion, the goal of this training is to improve skills. So a degree or diploma, if you look at, for example, my country, the DRC, diplomas are delivered by state-run entities. So to avoid any confusion, I believe it's important to talk about a certificate. And this would be a certificate that is recognized by all. It would be recognized by the state, it would be recognized by professional bodies. And for example, in the DRC, we recognize certificates, because if you talk about a diploma or a degree, there might be confusion with state-run programs. So I don't know if I'm being clear, but this is my opinion. And I'm also wondering why the Cote d'Ivoire, Morocco, Senegal, Tunisia, and Burkina Faso were selected as the 5 pilot countries. What were the criteria that led to these 5 countries being selected, or was it just a random selection? Why were these 5 countries selected to be the first program organizers? So this brings our question asking to a close, and I apologize to those who are not able to ask their questions, but rest assured you'll be able to ask questions during the second panel. So here I'd like to turn to Ahmed Chami, Amidou Ki, and Eji Kamoun to respond to the questions that were asked. And for some of the questions, I may also be able to respond, notably in terms of why those 5 countries in question were selected. And then perhaps we can also answer this question of certificate versus diploma/degree. This is Amidou Ki. Thank you to everybody for asking such interesting questions. So Usman, there is one question that was asked that I would like to respond to. Somebody asked, why in Burkina Faso did we put the pass mark at 75% rather than 50%? We chose 75% as a pass mark for the following reason. Because this is not very academic learning. The purpose of the training is that people could use it immediately. It needs to be immediately applicable. It needs to be put into action immediately. And that's why we really focus on more practical experience rather than theoretical. And so 75% was viewed as appropriate for that specific context. And another question was, is this run by the ONECA or by another entity? So ONECA runs this with the board of directors. So there's also a board of directors that's running this in cooperation with ONECA. So Sarinka asked whether the certificate that's delivered is recognized by the state. So this brings to other underlying questions. You know, some people are asking, why would we deliver a certificate rather than a diploma or a degree? That's because there's a significant of people who have a 2-year post-secondary degree, but who are still unemployed. And so we decided to take these people who already have a 2-year post-secondary degree and give them additional skills to make them easily employable. Secondly, they're all people who have a BTS, so a 2-year post-secondary national professional degree, but who are lacking certain skill sets. And so we want to try to ramp up their skills so that they can be more employable or find jobs somewhere else. So in terms of whether this is recognized by the state, well, it's professionally recognized within Burkina Faso. So we have the Chamber of Commerce, we have universities, and we have other professional bodies that are involved with the certificate. They're part of the scientific committee, for example. And so universities and professors are part of the scientific committee. And so currently we're seeking state accreditation, but we do not have that as of yet. But we are recognized by various professional entities. So that was my response. So universities are partners with us. So that really gives us a certain level of recognition in terms of the reliability of this certificate. Thank you, Amidou. I think we'll pass the mic over to Ahmed. Well, sure. I'd like to respond to this question of certificate versus diploma/degree. And we have had some feedback on that because we had an experience with the CPSF. It's a training certificate for accountants that was developed in partnership with the Order of Chartered Accountants in Morocco and also the Trade and Administration Institute. And so the feedback that we've received from these entities is that students or people who are interested in doing this type of training are much more interested in obtaining a degree, a diploma, rather than simply obtaining a certificate. And there are certain limits to obtaining a certificate, notably the fact that it's not as widely recognized as a degree, as a diploma. And the numbers speak for themselves, in fact, because if you look at the number of people the number of people who have joined these programs has decreased over the years, and that's because people wonder whether they're going to obtain a degree. In addition, there were other training courses that have been provided in parallel to ours, master's programs that have been provided by business schools. And so people prefer to obtain a diploma, a degree, rather than simply obtaining certification. And this is particularly important for people who seek to improve their job opportunities. And so it's a distinct learning that we have observed. Certification is not enough. People really want to obtain a diploma, that is to say, a degree. And I go back to what Mr. Amidou said regarding state recognition. So what we've done is we have a training course, a training that is done in partnership with universities. universities in Morocco. And so universities in Morocco have a certain autonomy in terms of the decisions they make and what type of training they provide. Therefore, this degree, of course, will be accredited by the public university. And the goal is to be able to provide training in partnership with the accounting industry, as well as with any universities that might wish to implement this type of training. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you, Ahmed. So we're going to conclude with Eddie now.
Thank you, Usman. There were 2 questions asked for Tunisia. I would like to present a few responses and share these with my team, asking them to intervene if they have any responses regarding the certificate of successful completion and participation. We actually wanted to find a title to express the training and the approval that is reached by the certificate. So we wanted to give the opportunity to the learners at their personal rhythm, pace, to follow the module that they're interested in, and the module, knowing that the module will give them value added to their training. And so perhaps for this certificate, perhaps we must change this, transform this into a validation to avoid confusion. For the second question, concerning the recognition of the certification by the state, yes, certification will be shared by the 2 bodies, the certified accounting body, and the 2 corporations will do the follow-up, will result in the follow-up of in the completion of this follow-up course. So they will have a diploma recognized by the state. There's a process that requires preparation, but I think that midterm, this certification could be or can result in a diploma, in a degree recognized by the state if both corporations do take the necessary steps. I think that this will be a good midterm solution. Thank you very much. With this, I'm going to suggest we conclude, we close this session. In terms of a conclusion, in addition to the presentations from the 3 countries, we must retain that these certificates take into account the regional economies, the lessons learned, specifically in Morocco. For Tunisia, we didn't have time to say it, but the Mazar firm has developed a strategy for this certificate. And the question that is raised is how this certificate could be transformed into a degree. And so we will be there to support each country towards the advancement of their work. And I would like to thank everyone on the panel, Ahmed, Edi, and without forgetting Khalid, for their excellent presentations. And I'm going to give the floor to our dear Lefaria. And thank you to all the participants for their excellent questions. Lefaria? Thank you very much, Osman. So I'd like to pass it on to Patrick.
Thank you, Refaria. Bonjour, and thank you for joining us in this fruitful conversation so far. I've learned a lot by listening to the 3 previous presentations. My name is Patrick Kabuya, Senior Governance Specialist. I am based in the South African office, and I've been honored to work with the rest of the team of the World Bank in this important and impactful project. And I also thank the 5 countries for the progress that you made to date, and also for raising your hands to share your experiences today. So this panel session, the one I'm just facilitating, is going to focus on implementation. Previously, we were addressing on issues relating to the design of the certificates. You're calling them the certificates. Some of us may consider that to be the technician qualification, but now going to focus on the implementation. And on the implementation, we'll be addressing 3 specific issues. One is the accrediting the qualifications in the 5 countries. And we've already started speaking about that. So I'm saying, like Morocco, saying they are working closely with the universities, so the qualifications get accredited by the universities and get recognized. But we'll hear some examples from the 3 countries who are implementing on how are they ensuring the certificates or the qualifications are accredited. Number 2, we'll talk about the attracting the students into the course. What type of initiatives are the 5 countries applying or adopting so that they can get the students on board? And we've already heard from some of the countries of how they're attracting or how the issue of the certificate may be hindering them. And then finally is also to hear more about the training. And you've listened some of it. Are you doing it online? Is it also face-to-face? And we had some examples, but we want to get a bit of more details on to how that's practically happening and the type of partnerships the 5 countries have with the education and training providers. So those are the 3 messages that you want to cover in these 3 sessions. And what you've done is we've invited Ivory Coast. So Drissa, thank you very much for accepting to present on behalf of OECCI in Cote d'Ivoire, and you can share your experience. Then we have Tunisia, 1 presentation, but going to be shared by the representative from CC Tunisia, Bessem Boulitsila, and then OEC Tunisia, Kamo, is also going to share together on the experiences on Tunisia. And finally, we'll have the consultant in Burkina, ACS Burkina, Hamed, also sharing to what experience they have seen relating to the 3 issues. We've again allocated 6 minutes to each of you. Please let's stick to time. And without further ado, I call upon Drissa. I hope you heard me, Mr. Drissa. Yeah, there you go. Over to you.
À vous.
Oui, merci beaucoup, M. Patrick Kabuya. En tout cas, merci. Mais pourtant, je parle. Hein.
Thank you. Yes, I am speaking.
Yes, you
voilà,
can continue.
Parce qu'elle, par contre, ne dépend pas de moi. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the World Bank, first of all, for this opportunity to share experiences, and most importantly, with Austria that helped finance the project. Could we move on to the second slide, please? So, in fact, for Cote d'Ivoire, the points that we have retained are the fact that we have an important pipeline of people who do not have access to the job market. So we asked ourselves, is it a job market issue, or is it availability issues? And then, so let's move on to the next slide. So for the Institute, the consultants that I would like to thank, Dr. Mate and others, have worked to propose a business model and, most importantly, a governance strategy. And for the senior technicians, there is already a degree that exists, but that needs to be reinforced. And Cote d'Ivoire has done that. It has reinforced the quality of this degree. Then we can offer certificates for specialties like Burkina did that can help the senior technicians to improve. Next slide. Next slide. So, as I was saying, Cote d'Ivoire is working closely on different subjects with different regional or continental organizations like PAFA, and we had a congress in a few years ago on the regional and continental levels, which shows that we do have these technical university diplomas, and that these are aligned with the certified accounting diplomas. At the onset, we had a good number of examples, but now we only have 30 candidates. Next slide. Thank you. So for the Institute, what we must know is that Cote d'Ivoire was able to leverage what was offered by the World Bank in Austria, and we have a project to organize and set up the headquarters of the order, and that will comprise the training center with an independent board, and that will work on 10 certificates. For example, if I need a certified accountant, I can be offered a contract as financial analyst, and so this would answer any questions on any technical questions about the senior technical accountant. And we have different scenarios to see how this could work. We have the implementation, the planning of implementation that was designed, taking into account the inauguration of the new headquarters. As I was saying, Cote d'Ivoire has 28 different pathways to the BTS. So this corresponds to 51,620 enrolled students. In the Anglo-Saxon context, we have enough candidates, but in the Francophone area, there is definitely a deficit. So here, for the roadmap, the objective will be to have this reform in the BTS training, and we have the BTS accounting candidates. There are all sorts of pathways that lead to a complex training opportunity. Then the quality of the students can be put to work in the different job opportunities. We do not these complement each other and help reinforce each option to reinforce their job opportunities. Next slide, please. So here are the different scenarios. I'm not going to insist on this. Next slide. So the consultants have suggested 3 targets for this strategic communication: students, schools, and the private sector, and to be able to reinforce this senior level of the BTS, as well as to reinforce the chances of employment. So the question is which will be the certificates in place to facilitate this? When we say that the BTS students cannot find work, there are other job opportunities. Even if they are well trained, it will be difficult for them to find the ideal job. So concerning skills, we must talk about access to the job market. Next slide.
Okay.
So in conclusion, our consultants have worked thoroughly on how the existing pipeline could be dealt with to improve the skills and reinforce the degrees. And the training institution that the order has established will have different ways of being used for different job opportunities. So these 2 axes that seem to be legitimate to Cote d'Ivoire are integrated in a global project that has been piloted by the government. So the specifics of the needs of each country must be looked at and kept in mind. And I think I just wanted to remind this.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Drissa, for that. And I think for everyone to know, the project has been supporting Cote d'Ivoire with designing the roadmap for the BTS improvements. And thank you for articulating the progress that you made. And we'll wait for questions later on, and especially how you are attracting students to those programs. So without further ado, let's go to Tunisia. Mr. Bessel and Kemo, one of you, whoever want to start, over to you. Let's try 6 minutes once again. I hope you are connected. I can't see any of you.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. Go for it. Okay, go for it. Anara, Pop.
Yeah.
Yes, hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Bessem Boulia of the Company of Accountants. We would like to thank the World Bank and the Finance Ministry of Austria. I also would like to thank the members of the Company of the Accountants of Tunisia, and for this the implementation of this project. We also have our colleague from the Order of the Chartered Accountants of Tunisia with us. And as well as our colleague from Cameroon, who is with us. This project was introduced by a first visit by the World Bank in 2019. Next slide, please. So since October 25, 2019, with the first phase program meeting, and since March 2021, we started meetings, and we had a presentation of the roadmap and next steps to go straight to the goals in an efficient as possible manner to advance the project. And we then were put in contact to our partners at Mazar in Tunisia, and we moved forward on this project with a harmonized approach and the goals that were fixed previously. Next slide.
So there's a membership in principle to the FASE program. So there are 2 professional organizations that are involved. The CCT and the OECD consider that the FASE program could have a strong contribution to better training of accounting professionals. And so it's important to determine what the name of the certification should be. So perfectionnement is the word that is selected. This is for various reasons, because accounting technician means that this is an accountant, a statutory accountant, and that's why we're trying to distinguish between that. So the name of the training is important, because accounting technician could refer to an auditor. The interpreter apologizes, but the sound is quite difficult to hear. There's a lot of echo. So this, the people who acquired this already have a 3-year technical degree. So this program is based on a business skill repository framework, and it is designed to consolidate the knowledge and skills of participants in the program, and also, more importantly, to promote their employability. So that was the initial goal of the program, that is to strongly focus on how to enhance program participants' employability. The goal is to ensure that they can immediately be productive from the first day of their employment within an accounting firm. So the focus is truly on employability. So now I'm passing the floor to Kamel from this. So my name is Kamel El-Hami. Thank you to everybody taking part in this extremely important FASE program. And I believe it's something that really has a strong potential, because based on the Tunisian experience, I would say that one of the specificities of this is that there are 2 entities in Tunisia that have joined forces, the CCT and the OECD. And thanks to this, these 2 organizations have been able to design the certification. And so it was not necessarily an easy project, because people had conflicting schedules, And so it was really wonderful to be able to have these two entities or organizations align themselves in order to be able to develop a certification program. So both organizations showed a clear intent to join and contribute to the implementation of the program in Tunisia. And so they've also demonstrated that they wish to continue to contribute to this program. Based on the Tunisian experience, even though it was fast and relatively easy to design the program, we believe that further work will be done in order to implement the program. And so both organizations, the CCT and the OECD, have a lot of assets that can be used to ensure a successful implementation program. So both organizations have training institutes for accountants. And so both organizations are familiar with the various skills that are required. They have a network of academic partners, business schools, accounting in various faculties located in the various governorates. So I don't wish to repeat what's been said previously, but I would like to emphasize the fact that the implementation of the FASE program in Tunisia is strongly dependent on technical and financial support from partners and donors in order to ensure the successful implementation. There are open mics. Please cut your microphones if you are not speaking. This is the interpreter. Please cut your microphones if you're not speaking. Now I'm going to pass the floor over to my colleague, Pauline Chilomba. Thank you very much. So to follow up on what you were saying, as was mentioned previously, there is a very strong network of partners that exist with universities, with business schools, with accounting and various faculties located throughout Tunisia. This network will facilitate communication with the various students who will join the program. So holders of a BTS degree or of another type of two-year post-secondary degree. So as Denis Kamoun said, in Tunisia, we do refer to a certificate. This is not a university degree that is being offered. And so this approach, providing a degree is something that we have considered, but it would entail a great deal more coordination with higher education establishments. And so the CCT and the OECD have decided to partner up on providing our certificate for accounting technicians. So anyway, next slide, please. What's really important is to emphasize the prerequisites required for the implementation of the FASE program in Tunisia. The implementation, success, and sustainability of the FASE program in Tunisia is dependent on technical and financial support from our partners and from our donors, notably the World Bank, for ensuring the success of the implementation phases. And here I'd like to make three points that are especially important in order to guarantee the success and the continued implementation of this program. So first of all, there needs to be funding. There's a hot mic. The interpreter requests that people who are not speaking cut their microphones. So funding for the establishment of a training center dedicated to the program is required. So we do have a certain amount of experience in that area. We've already developed training centers for past programs. Therefore, we have a training platform that is readily available. However, we would like to receive more financial and technical support in order to be able to set up a training center that is dedicated to the FASE program. Now, for my second point, to which I wish to call your attention, there will be financing needs for the study, or the review rather, and implementation of a business model that ensures the coverage of training costs, at least initial costs. And the third point in which we require support is that there's an estimate that has been done by Mazar, the Mazar form, and according to Mazar, it is estimated that 6 or 9 months of training will cost about 4,500 dinars. That is about 1,400 euros per participant. And this is for a group of 25 participants. So that's a very high sum of money in Tunisia. And so young university students who have a 2-year degree are, they're still students, and so they would probably not be able to afford such an expensive tuition fee. And so this could imperil the program's success. As such, financial support will be required to pay for the registration fees. And in fact, we're considering putting in place work-study programs so that the students can work with accounting firms and earn some money. But initially, the first 3 months of the program will need to be covered, and we will need financial support for that in order to ensure the program's continuity. And we wish to go further in order to achieve full transparency and proper governance of the program. And so I'm going to pass the floor back to my colleague to see if he has anything else he would like to add.
I think I'll need to stop there, sorry, because of time. We had allocated like 8 minutes and we've done almost 13 minutes. If you don't mind, we only have 10 minutes to ask for questions, but thank you for that valuable information you've shared with us. I guess today we can say it's an appetizer of the conversation, and we'll have more conversation as we go along. So I will not pose questions, but you've been listening to this interesting engagement, and I would like to invite the colleague from Morocco to share, from Burkina, Ahmed. And please, let's stick to the few minutes, considering we are running late, please. Over to you, Ahmed.
Merci beaucoup. Je voudrais, avant de commencer.
Thank you. Before I get started, I would like to thank the World Bank, in particular Ousmane Collier and Nifaria, who have provided us with a lot of help in terms of completing this survey. And we'd also like to thank the Order of Accountants of Burkina Faso, the president, the chairman rather, and his entire team who made themselves available for this study. We also received assistance from the scientific world. We had Mr. Wankanda, who helped us. We have Professor Robert Bataneau, and we also have professional accountants, Mr. Awadrego, and I'm also Hamade Awadrego. I work for ACS, SAS in Burkina Faso. So 4 minutes will suffice for my presentation. And so there'll be 3 parts to my presentation. I'll talk about, first of all, how are students trained in Burkina Faso. So this type of training gets a lot of traction in Burkina Faso, because it's really the joining between the university world and the ONECA. And so these 2 entities will be delivering the accounting technician certificate. And the Chamber of Commerce will also be involved, as well as the Company Owners Association. My firm, ACS, took part in the first study, in the first phase of the study, with its partner Mazar from Morocco. So we were able to meet And so students who have a 2-year post secondary degree were able to also be involved. So then the next part that's very interesting is the holders of this. So who will be delivered this program, the certificate rather? It will be people who have a 3-year technical degree because they will already have acquired certain other skills prior to joining this. So we want to give these students an added value so that they can be immediately operational once they have a job in a company. So in order to help them do this, we provide them with soft skills. We provide them with a professional behavior, and they have a 3-month internship minimum in an accounting firm. So this helps them put into practice what they learned during their 3-year degree. And so once they obtain the certificate, they will be immediately employable. So in terms of accreditation of this qualification, so for the time being, the certificate will not need to be accredited by the state, by the Burkina Faso state, because it will already have the accreditation from the business world and from company owners, because they are saying these are the accountants that we wish to work with. And so this is a program that's being deployed in order to fill certain gaps in terms of the training that's initially provided. And so the accreditation of the program will be an accreditation of the program beneficiaries. In parallel to this, we have developed a communication program based on 8 different categories, and it will be deployed once the program begins. So as of now, everything is standing ready to be deployed. All we need is the green light for all these systems to get into motion and for us to be able to roll out a program that is immediately operational. So here's the business model and the governance model. So the business model will enable Burkina Faso to train 1,000 applicants within a 5-year program. And so the investment will be about 50 million without building a head office. But ideally, the ONICA Burkina Faso would like to build head office from which it will deliver the training. So these are 2 assumptions, but regardless of the assumption that is utilized, 50 million or 650 million, with the exception of the first year, this program will be profitable. And this is really intentional. It's something that was decided with the Order of Accountants. We wanted to make sure that the cost of the program could be accessible, 250,000 CFA, so that anybody can join it, and not simply people who have a lot of money. And so we want to make sure that it's accessible, financially accessible to as many people as possible. Now, in terms of governance, this is a hybrid model whereby ONECA will be able to maintain its status as a professional order, but it will also have a program that is run independently, but that has good governance with a board of directors, a supervisory committee, and other oversight tools. And so it will be really a leading program. So I would like to note that, unfortunately, my speaking time was a bit short.
Yes.
I apologize for being so succinct, and I hope that this was useful to you.
Thank you very much. And I guess, yes, running late, I think we covered so much time in the previous session. And before maybe allow Q&A, I would like to invite Nike, because I know you have another commitment. Do you have some concluding remarks you'd like to share? Briefly, Nike, over to you.
So I'll mute my mic. I think I did it. Thanks very much, Patrick, and of course to other colleagues. I mean, I would have loved this to be a very good, you know, opportunity to get questions and respond to the questions. However, I see some pertinent ones on the chat from Mr. Sain. One is talking about, should this not be focused on middle level manpower or to develop middle level manpower? Another one asking about the pass mark, another asking about the body running the qualification. And I believe these are questions that can easily be answered by the colleagues who have given this very good presentation today. Perhaps we can even run maybe just another 5 minutes just to be able to address this. But just for me to summarize the key takeaways for today, I guess it's good to emphasize the fact that we've worked with these five countries, and the presentation today has shown all the very good things that have been started. I mean, I would usually like to say it's always work in progress because we can always build on what has been done already. So from the presentation, I mean, we can see that the phase approach, that's the approach of the program or the project, has resulted in the delivery of competency-based accountancy technician programs. It has, you know, helped to develop communication strategy. The business models and the roadmap for the Ministry of Higher Education have been developed, which is aimed at improving skills and to respond to the market demand in these 5 countries. So the next step for us in the project is to support the professional accountancy organizations or the education and training providers in all countries. I mean, in the 5 countries in the implementation of this program, maybe from July 2022, but also move to a higher level, which is now focusing on other countries to really support in the accountancy technician scheme, generally for Africa. I believe we can all work together to really make this thing global, regional. I mean, go, you know, really expand on the work we've done in these 5 countries, but also expand it to even more countries. So I'd like to thank all the presenters today. I know presenting, there's always a lot that goes into presentation, but I mean, I can see it's a really presentation from the heart, and thanks for sharing your perspectives with us. My very sincere thanks to my colleagues in the bank who have been working very hard on this program. Patrick, Usman, Lefaria, and of course, Anara. Many of you don't see Anara, but she's working very strongly from behind. So thanks, colleagues, for all this very great work. I see that our colleagues from PAFA are also joined. I saw the CEO connected as well, and other colleagues. I just want to say thanks. Again, it's a partnership, and we look forward to engaging with you to move this ahead. And of course, to all the PAOs, to all the colleagues from Education Ministry, from all other parts, our consultants who supported in doing the work, a very big thank you. On our part, we intend to continue to do this work. We intend to develop very strongly in so many other parts that we want to do. Thanks to the Austrian Ministry of Finance, we have other partners that actually want to support this work, expanding to more countries. So again, thanks very much, and best wishes to all this very good engagement. My regards.
Thank you very much, Nike. And I know we needed to end at 6, from my time, 6 o'clock, so it's 3 minutes past. But I'm just wondering, because we had a very rich conversation, if you'd allow just for 10 minutes to open up, in case anyone has any burning questions that we can respond to, just for 10 more minutes, you can post that now. If you're willing, for those who may need to leave, fair enough. But I think considering majority of you are still connected, and we appreciate you for connecting, if you have any urgent question you may need to raise, I'm happy to take 3. Then I can ask the team the speakers who just spoke just to close that, and we'll do some concluding remarks from our end. Anyone who have, and thank you once again, Alta, I can see you also leaving, and also want to mention, I saw IFAC is also connected, so thanks for the connection. I see also our team preparing the African Accounting Technician Qualification, Stephen and the team. Yes, Darlene from IFAC was here, so thank you also for connecting Stephen and your team, and I hope you've learned a bit from this process. So I see 2 hands raised now, so Bondia, you can start. Anyone, the final hand, just wanted to ask 3 questions if possible. If not, then we just focus on the 2 hands, on the 2 people who have raised their questions. So Bondoa, can you start, please? I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Unmute yourself, please.
Oui, bonjour.
Yes, hello, everyone. I'll get to the question immediately. It's not really a question. It could seem like a question. I'm a certified accountant, member of the board of the order, and I have been selected to participate in this mission in Senegal. So my contribution is to clarify the terms, the goals. The terms of the goals are clear regarding the certificate, the technician certificates, and the improvement of employability, because these are problems that were highlighted in the study, and Morocco had already experienced this transformation with the diplomas, the degrees. So we would like to create or to propose how to move forward, because the diploma, the degree exists. And we do not, in Senegal, we do not want to pretend that we're going to modify it. This is more a question of strengthening for the learners, so that this can bring value added to their different contexts. For me,
okay.
I am more in favor of the certificate rather than the diploma or the degree.
Okay, thank you very much. And then Bondoa, go over to you. I saw Anna would be the last. Anna Maria, you'd be the last one.
Oui, merci.
Yes, thank you. My name is Bodoua Kankebega from Cote d'Ivoire. I participate in the FASE program. I would like to congratulate the World Bank for their work, and I would like to ask the question as the president of the Commission on Training for the next steps. First of all, concerning the institute that is going to be in charge of the development of certificates for these senior technicians who do not have jobs yet. So this could be in support to the institute. Is there a program of follow-up on efficiency so that we can ensure efficiency? The second portion of my question is about what was said from Cote d'Ivoire, the job market. We witnessed that in our country we have a big there's disproportion between the digital sector, and we need to do a better job in awareness for our technicians, even if they are well trained. But there's going to be a problem if they can't find an adequate job. So the question is, can the program help our leaders to open this informal market? So those were my two questions, and I thank you.
Fine, thank you very much. Then Anna Maria, the last question from you. Then we close.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm sorry that I'm actually not in country, but this is my concern. I have followed up on this program right from last year when it was initiated, like the need for an accounting technician qualification that will be widely used all over Africa. And but I think that the focus currently, maybe because of the financiers of the project, the focus currently is on countries that already have a system and not on countries that do not have a system. Like in Equatorial Guinea, we do not have a system. I think that's what the project coordinators, the financiers should take into consideration. Because when they're talking about Cote d'Ivoire in Africa, Cote d'Ivoire is well organized compared to Equatorial Guinea that we need a lot of support, which Lefaria is here, he knows about it. Usman Koli is here, he knows about it. We need a lot of support to be able to put a structure together, which we have done. We have done a lot, but it's not enough, because when the idea of the accounting technician qualification came up, I was really happy. I said, at least we'll get something that is going to be good for us. And at least if we could have it, let the participants be able to be evaluated in Spanish, that would be very good.
That's clear. And Anna Maria, I think the call I'm hearing from you is how can your country be involved in this project? And yes, personally, I'll take that on board together with the rest of the team. Even if it's not immediate, we'll think of other avenues of how we can look for resources to think how you can participate and benefit. Our intention is to ensure the program is rolled out to many countries at large. But at the moment, we have to select the countries to start from. And over a period of time, we'll accelerate that process. So I hear your cry, and we'll come back to you at some time.
Okay, so how long will it take for you to get back to me? Because everyone keeps telling me, get back to you, we'll get back to me, they don't get back to me. So how long are we looking at this time?
I can't tell you the time, but I'm sure I'll talk with Refari and Usman and we'll engage with you. So yes, let me not promise you about the time now at the moment. Okay, fine. So on the as we close, because of those three questions raised by Kamara and Dodoa, and I think there's also the question raised by Abol for the 4 presenters who shared earlier. Or remember, our course is focusing on building the skills at the lower level, not the professional. And the intention is, even when you're designing the African Accounting Technician Qualification, is we need to think of those people who are currently don't have jobs or the skills, and that's a middle level or the lower level that we're empowering, and they are majority in the African region. And those people will also have an opportunity to transition, to move to either the professional qualification or what you call the licenses or the degree within the respective countries. And I think there's still an opportunity for that. And it's also worth for me to mention the reason why we're also developing the African Accounting Technician Qualification. It's an intention for those countries. Yes, we are supporting the 5 countries at the time being to strengthen whatever they may have. But in future, there is still an opportunity that those can also be scaled up to the African Accounting Technician Qualification, whichever format and depending on the country. And the advantage that we bring on those is one also has to think about the mobility of the learners in your country, not just going to the professional, but also having the opportunity to go and work with the rest of the continent. So, and I think this point is important, currently focusing at the lower level, but there is still an opportunity to move to the degree at another level. Remember, not everyone needs to have a degree. There are technicians requirement in many countries, and that's an important message we want to emphasize. So just to close it up, then I just invite Hamad, if you can talk about how you're dealing with the next step in terms of the training. I think that was a question asked by Bondoa, if you can link with that. And also from the Kamara's point, I think Kamara's your message is about strengthening and you're happy for the technician qualification. I don't think we need to come back so much back on that, but let me mainly call on Hamad if you have any comment or response to the questions that were raised by Bodoa and on the job market. And then I will also ask Drissa if you can talk on the Cote d'Ivoire issue on the job market. And finally, one of the colleagues from Tunisia, any parting or final messages that you'd like to share. So over to you, Hamad. Hamad, yeah, go for it.
Oui, je pense que juste une...
Yes, so I have just one reaction from my colleague Kamara. We in Burkina Faso, there's you know very well that we have many different degrees, but we don't have practitioners. We don't have people who can execute the work. We need leaders to manage the work. The first exchanges that we had with the World Bank was based on how to target starting from the Bac plus 2 and Bac plus 3, so baccalaureate plus 2 and 3 years. So that when you come out of university, you don't have to find somebody in the firms, in the accounting firms, to train these students. So the technicians who will finish their education tomorrow are ready to work immediately. And for this, we said that there won't be any state accreditation at this time, but the students will benefit as well as the business sector. So those who have the certificates from ONECA know they are the best that are on the market. And accounting technician accountants are perhaps in the informal sector, but they can still make a living working in the informal sector and continuing their relationships with the banks and their suppliers. And so this is important to be able to make decisions. So small and medium-sized enterprises will be focusing on this in Burkina. And I believe that the partners with the Chamber of Commerce will be extremely key to this program. Thank you.
Merci for that. Go back to Tunisia, maybe Bessem or Kamon, in case you want to add, especially about your training for the certificate. That was a question raised by Bondoa. One of you can speak on behalf of Tunisia.
Yeah, Kamel is speaking.
Oui.
Peut-être le point le plus important à partager.
Perhaps the most important point to share would be that regardless of the format, we must build on what we have in terms of skills. The speaker cannot be heard. I think we should not start from scratch, but work on what we have. And we all agree that the subject at hand is a practical subject. And so I think that certificates or complementary training must be oriented towards practice.
Thank you for that. And finally to Drissa, in case you have maybe more on the Cote d'Ivoire on the job market question that was raised. And briefly, just 1 minute, please, Mr. Drissa.
Oui, merci, merci Patrick.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. Well, in fact, we must emphasize that when we talk about skills and job market, this reminds me of a program that I followed by the agricultural development fund in DRC. We encouraged professionals to continue their training, the development of their skills, and apply them to their work. So, but unfortunately, all the resources, the products that were the result of their work went to waste due to different local situations. And we need to, for Cote d'Ivoire, for example, we need to work on what we have, a transformation of economies, and we have partnerships with the SMEs in Cote d'Ivoire, partnerships with the national federations of business leaders. So all the informal sector that we have could turn into opportunities, job opportunities for our students who will have their degrees. So despite the efforts of the World Bank are well known, but we would like to, in addition to the access to the job market, to work on the transformation of our economies. I think that within the framework of the Pan-African Federation in 2023, the meeting of the certified accountants, they are going to rethink the transformation of the economy in the informal sector. And when I talk about support, technical support as well is needed from the World Bank. This is the case for Cote d'Ivoire, but for many other countries on the continent. So yes, indeed, we're going to have certified and students with diplomas, but we need to do more. Thank you.
Merci, merci. So I bring
Thank you
this
so much.
to a close, just from my end, before I hand over to Refalia to deal with it. On this session, we focused again on the implementation. Together with my team, there's a lot that's been shared, and we'll try to summarize, especially on the messages relating to the training arrangements that are being done in the 5 countries. We'll also try to summarize the impact of how they are accrediting the certificates or the qualifications being developed. And number 3, we'll also try to summarize the messages on how the countries are attracting students to enroll into these programs. And on top of that, we will add our other experiences from elsewhere, because we think this will be pertinent information that can help you to build this into the future. But I also hear a very important question being raised. What's the name of this qualification? Is it certificate, or what do we term it? And I guess from our end, we will give that more consideration. And as we engage with you in future, we'll also hear your views, and together we'll come up with a terminology that's going to help to attract the students. But at the end of the day, we know this is a program whose time has come, and it's a program that's going to benefit many, especially the young people within the 5 countries and in Africa at large. So thank you very much for sharing, and we look for more opportunities to engage on this and to build on this into the future. Remain the course for the benefit of the Africa. And I salute you all. And now I hand over to our program director, Lefaria, just to close the session. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for accepting to stay longer. We're almost 23 minutes past the proposed time, but I can still see 67% of you are connected. Merci. Usman, no, Refaria, please close over the session.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I think you have rightly put the right weight on your final session with a good weight. We are looking forward to working with you in this program, and we strongly believe that this program will transform the landscape of Africa in what Osman Kone Dressa correctly said, transforming the economy of Africa. To transform the economy of Africa, you need different level in the profession, especially in the accountancy profession, each and every one to play its role and in the right time. So the right time has come that accounting technicians need to play their role within this economy that we are transforming. We know that it's not the opportunity that's lacking in Africa, but good strategy and good tools to implement those strategies in Africa. As one of the speakers correctly said, there's abundance of production of BTS and DUT. I think if I'm correct, should be in Ivory Coast, but the market might be there. We've got a lot of small and medium enterprises that can absorb them. And we've got a lot of also accounting firm that can absorb them. And we look forward to this program or this project to expand to the rest of Africa and making sure that the economy of Africa gets to a different level like in other parts of the world. With this note, I would like to say that thank you very much. We know that we've exceeded the time. It's not due to our own will. We propose that we have it only for a few hours, but we extend it for some few minutes because of the richness in the discussion. We cannot let it stop. So we might have, I'm watching very carefully, some few interaction in the future to elaborate more and progress on this matter. We are available for comment, for discussion, in person through your accountancy organization and through regional organizations such as PAFA and IFAC that you are working on this program. Thank you very much. I hope you'll have a restful evening where you are, as most of us are approaching toward the evening now. Thank you very much. Looking forward to meeting you and discuss with you in the future. Thank you.